Well, I'm not an economist, but I figure a woman who's hurt and broken and has no sense of self-worth, that she's not going to be very productive in society. She might have a job, but she's probably absent a lot or doesn't do her job efficiently.
As I was moderating this panel on domestic violence and abuse, we talked a lot about the problems that women encounter when they're in the midst of this trauma. But I don't know that I've heard a lot about the solution to the problem. Yes, they need to get out of that. They need to find another place to be. That's a given. But it's how do you do that? If a company or corporation came to me and said, why should I support Time to Fly Foundation? I would say to them, there are people in your organization that you probably don't know, but they're dealing with domestic abuse and domestic violence. They need what Time to Fly has to offer. And while it may not even be them, it may be someone in their family, it still costs when you don't have your employees there to do the jobs that you're paying them to do. Medical benefits go up, you're paying a part of that. Absenteeism costs you. Lack of productivity costs you. And I think the difference between some of these other organizations is that they get money for the problem, but I don't see money being invested in the solution for the problem.
I've been one that has participated in a number of different domestic violence campaigns, and typically they just end with awareness. But Time to Fly goes well beyond that. They engage in strict intervention, which is something that is transformative in the lives of those men and women that are victims of domestic violence.
This organization is teaching women not only skills so that they can be self-sufficient, but they're giving them this wonderful sense of dignity.
We can talk problem all day long. Federal government, we have problems. Local government, state and local government, we got problems. Let's throw some money at it. But we still have the problem. Let's start funding the solution to the problem. And I think that's where Time to Fly Foundation comes in.
Monetarily, dollar for dollar, I don't think you could do better. TTF is personal. They're about relationships. They're about building lives and rebuilding lives.
You know, you can always buy somebody a loaf of bread and they won't be hungry today. But if you teach them how to make bread, then they won't be hungry for a lifetime.
Our faith community, quite frankly, must get involved with the domestic violence. We need to come together both interfaith and within our denominations and deal with the subject honestly. It exists. Closing our eyes to the fact that there are people within our own congregations or there are people within our walls that are suffering such horrible abuse and yet remain silent. We need, as a faith community, to understand how to deal correctly with a woman that is hurting or a child that has suffered.
The Time to Fly Foundation is so unique because they address every aspect of abuse, not just the physical abuse, but emotional abuse, spiritual abuse, economic, in any way that a person is abnormally abused. They enable the victims of such abuse to really regain their God-given worth and sense of value and purpose.
Well, when I travel and meet these women, it's very clear that so many of them are hurt or broken and have lost their sense of self. And Time to Fly isn't an organization that just gives them a hug and sends them on their way. Time to Fly is an organization that comes alongside of these women and imbues them with biblical principles that help them to know how to forgive, help them to know how loved they are by God, and then gives them the skills so that they can become self-sufficient.
The impact of the Time to Fly Foundation on the graduates of the program is that they are transformed from the inside out. The Word of God tells us to be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Time to Fly addresses the emotional, physical, social, economic, spiritual, every aspect of abuse that is occurring. They're addressing it and breaking the cycle through the power of Jesus Christ and the Word of God. And I've seen the results, and the Time to Fly Foundation has the right approach.
Time to Fly encourages women. They give them a non-judgmental environment where they can learn about themselves, where they can learn about biblical principles so that they can understand how valued they are by God, how loved they are.
And that's another thing that's invaluable about Time to Fly. You're part of a community of those that provide the nurturing and support that enable each other to continue to grow well beyond the time the program has ended. And so that will allow folk to have a community for a lifetime, so that you can continue to deal with emotional healing from the psychic bruises and scars that one goes through when you deal with domestic violence.
I would say to pastors who are considering getting involved in Time to Fly that we serve a God who is in the business of restoration.
The faith community in particular sees great numbers of domestic violence situations, cases every year. And oftentimes there's no one to really help them contend with that, but other authorities that immediately try to place folk in counseling and what have you. But Time to Fly, being a holistic programmatic entity, allows the faith community to partner with a great organization that will meet the needs of folk, not only those that are victims, but those that are perpetrators as well, because it addresses all of the emotional, physical, spiritual, and social needs of the family, and it seeks to put families back together again.
Expertise, I cannot say that well enough. Without Time to Fly, I would not have the understanding, I would not have the ability to go to other pastors and to other churches and to other religious groups and speak about the problem of domestic violence or provide answers on how we can come together and work for it. They are a predominant force in this area. And I could not, quite frankly, do either my job as pastor or with the FCIA without them.
My question is, how can you not support Time to Fly Foundation?